Hey everyone, welcome back to E2 Connect, when we connect with other elders and leaders in the church. Today, we talk about leadership, significant leadership.
Hey everyone, welcome to the E2 Effective Elders podcast. Visit us at e2elders.org and please share this good word with others.
Hey everybody, we are so grateful that you're joining us once again at E2 Connect, where we are learning from one another how to more effectively lead the church. We thank CDF Capital, our longtime partners in ministry, for making this podcast possible. And all of 2021, we're looking at those 6 challenges that elders face, ELDERS. Today, we land on that letter L for leadership, and we welcome Dustin Fulton, who's the lead pastor at Eastpointe Christian Church in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio. Dustin, thanks for taking time out to join us today.
It's great to be here, Gary.
Well, I appreciate all that you are doing in the bride there at Eastpointe for Jesus, and it's been remarkable to see how the Lord has just moved in that church family in the short time you've been there. And you want to tell a little bit about your journey, how you ended up there at Eastpointe?
Yeah, sure. We had planted a church out in Omaha, Nebraska, had turned it over to new leadership, and I had went to work at Nebraska Christian College, which unfortunately only was about a year before it closed. And so we were left in a place where we wanted to stay in Omaha, but yet knew that wasn't going to be a possibility. And so we just really laid open a lot of prayer and just were seeking God's will. And believe it or not, God had done a remarkable work in our hearts to lead us to a place of really appreciating and wanting to serve in a place that was very diverse. Normally, you don't think of Omaha, Nebraska as leading to diversity, but God did a great work in our hearts through some connections in the inner city. And so when we started searching, we came across Eastpointe. And Eastpointe is a very diverse church in a very diverse area that it just seemed like with everything that's going on in our country, we need more churches that practice diversity. So it was just it was a really cool way that God worked over a course of several months in order to convince us that this is where we were supposed to be and to remind us of some of the things that we had experienced in Omaha. And here we are. We moved in the middle of the pandemic and found a home here in Columbus.
And, I've been privileged to be over a few times. And what stands out to me is your location. I am in awe of where God planted Eastpointe. And you want to share with people about the unique people groups that are right there adjacent to your property?
Yeah. So, Columbus has about the second highest Somali population in the United States outside of Minneapolis, which I think we probably all have heard in news reports and things like that. But literally, our property was purchased back about 17 years ago and was split with an organization, National Church Residences. And so literally the back half of our property is all Somalian residences, homes with Somali people living there. And so we also have a high Nepali population. And so it is literally the mission field has come to our backyard, and we are just doing our best to try to figure out, okay, what do we do now? How do we actually reach out to people who come from Muslim backgrounds, and how do we build those relationships over a long time, over length of time in order to make disciples?
Yeah, it's incredible. Literally, everybody, when Dustin says backyard, he means backyard. The property line of the church is right abutted to the property line of these neighborhoods with Somalis, Nepalese, and so on. It's incredible. One of the remarkable things about Eastpointe is that shortly after you arrived in the midst of the pandemic, the Holy Spirit was stirring you about your identity, who you are as a church. And at E2, we speak with churches all the time about VMV, vision, mission, and values, core values, why we exist, our vision, how we accomplish that vision, that's our mission, and then the environment in which we're going to function, those are our core values. And what led to Eastpointe's decision to refresh your vision? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we had what we call two derailing events at Eastpointe. One of them was just a rocky transition to senior pastor, and then the second was COVID. And so when I came on board, I just asked it pretty quickly, so do you guys want to keep going with this vision, or is this something that we need to refresh? And it was unanimous that we needed to start fresh. And so what happened was that was in August of 2020. In September and October, we did a sermon series through the 7 churches in Revelation. And we just asked the question, okay, so what's God saying to Eastpointe? And so through that time, we had a time of prayer and fasting as well, where we were seeking out God's will. And we just really started listening. What's God already doing here? Because, I was a month into the church, so I didn't really know. I mean, I didn't want to just come in with my vision. I wanted to hear what things were going on. And so, we had a heavy debt load, had, a lot of relationships that needed to be healed through everything that had happened. And so the phrase that just kept coming back again and again was only God, only God, only God, only God. Only God can heal us and work through us. Only God can provide for us in the way that we need him to. And so literally on the 8th week of that sermon series, after we did the 7 weeks, when what is God speaking to us, we started to share this only God vision, which developed into only God can through E2's work with us. So,
yeah. So what did that vision discernment process look like for Eastpointe?
Yeah, so we had E2 out. We had that scheduled to come out and to do a weekend retreat where we met there at the church with our elders and several other key leaders in the congregation, where we really thought through to see what that would look like. We had already come up with the only God part, but through the prayer and the fasting, we knew that's the direction we were going. And so as we were discerning that vision, eventually we said, well, what if we do only God can? And I can't remember, it's one of those things, nobody remembers who came up with it. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is that it just kind of emerged. And so part of the beauty of that is that we have a very high level of buy-in with it because of how that went about. That it wasn't just my vision that came in, or it wasn't one that we borrowed from another church. It was really one that emerged within the life of the church.
And I think that you hit a key phrase a moment ago. You said the phrase prayer and fasting.
Yeah.
And I believe that when we leverage that, the power of God is released. And that's exactly what happened in the birthing of your vision, mission, and values. Oddly enough, later today, I'm going to be leaving to go work with another one of our partner churches, a new partner church. They're doing the very same process of vision, mission, core values. And I urged them last week as leaders to spend time praying and fasting, whether it's a meal, whether it's a day, but every individual to pray and fast so that they hear God's voice when we gather together for this process.
Yeah, and Gary, if I could comment on that for a minute, because I thought that we're going to do a week long fast. We're going to do this and everything else, and then I just literally did not work out with the calendar to do it. And I thought, oh man, I hate the takeaway fast time. So I ended up doing a 3-day fast instead. And I was kind of feeling like, man, this is kind of piddly, should we do more? But literally after we announced that, I had about 10 people come up to me and all made the same comment. They said, wow, this is interesting. We don't remember ever doing this before in the life of our church.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of some humility for me too, to realize, no, Dustin, start where people are at. Don't try to force on them, something that they're not ready for yet, and listen to see where they're at. And so now hopefully as we grow that we'll be able to do more fasting, but starting off with that, 3-day fast was extremely significant for a number of people in our church. So
yeah, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah. And on a side note, we just listed on our website for anybody listening, a book by David Roadcup and a friend of his on prayer and fasting, just a little booklet. Now, you at Eastpointe, you're our poster child in regards to this next item. We have never seen a church leverage their vision statement in the most unique ways as you have. So could you tell us some of the creative ways that you have applied only God can, that statement, there at Eastpointe?
Well, we didn't just want people to have a high level of buy-in to the vision, that we were doing, but we actually wanted them to have a high level of practice with the vision. Mm-hmm. And so we really gave the opportunity for people to share their only God can stories. And so what we did is we started the week that we released the vision. We released it kind of on a soft launch in that November or October, but then we really did it again in January, full force. And we had 3 people get up and share their only God can stories. We did it in 100 words or less. We asked people to write it in 100 words or less. And so then, we're not a huge church, so we don't have all the resources to do this. But what we did, we had that written out, and then we had them share it and during the service, and we videoed it while they shared it. So we had it in written form, we had it in the service, and then we had it in video form. And all those things we have available on our website. And then we took the written forms of those and we put them, we had big Only God Can up on the wall in the foyer. And we have all those stories that people have shared framed. And again, it's like 100 words or less. Technically, it's 200 or less. That's what will fit. But we say 100 because you know how people are with share, and they're going to go a little bit longer. But it really, so we have about 20 different pictures up on the wall right now that we have done where people have shared. We have several more people that are wanting to share. We're just getting them the courage to do that. And so we've had those only God can moments throughout that. There's been a few other things that we've done too that have been pretty cool. We are right on the flight path for the runway at Columbus, and so when all the flights come over, they literally are landing at about 300 foot above the church. And so we had some volunteers get up and paint on the roof in huge letters, "Only God Can." And we just wanted that message for people there to do that. And so then along with that, we also have a newer part of the church that's all glass windows that faces out into Wagner Street, which is a heavily traveled road. And we sit probably about 500 foot from the road, the building does. And so we got in huge white letters and put "Only God Can" up on the window so that when people are driving by, they see that. And we've already got a lot of comments about that. Actually, we got a lot of comments from people saying, "Wow, we didn't even know this was a church." So it's really a great way to get the knowledge of who we are out there and just what we're all about, and just frankly to encourage people while they're driving by.
Yeah, and I can remember on my last visit over to Eastpointe when we were working on your 3-year plan, some of the people in the room were talking about your T-shirts.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about your T-shirts.
Yeah, so we have the logo is really simple. It's just "Only God Can" with the God and a bolder lettering, and then the ellipsis at the end, because we want people to be able to fill in the end there. So yeah, we have T-shirts that we have out that just say "Only God Can" on, sweatshirts. And when people go out to the stores and wear these shirts, they get tons of comments on them, and people just ask them. And it's been a great starting point, because that's one of the things we want to do, not just to share our Only God Can stories on Sunday morning, but literally by creating these 100 to 200 word stories that people can talk about, that literally, if someone stops them in the supermarket and asks them what the shirt's about, they can say, "Well, do you want to hear my Only God Can story?" And they can share it that quickly and go from there. And we've had all ages of people sharing these things and wearing the T-shirts and everything else. We've even had a lot of we have an overabundance of girls that are about my daughter's age, that are just strong Christian girls. And there's been 3 or 4 of them get up in front of the whole church and share their Only God Can stories, whether it be through surgeries they've had to have, or, my daughter, her praying for missionaries and actually seeing a missionary come to the field in only 2 months of praying for one.
Wow.
And just all kinds of cool stuff. So yeah, the whole goal is what is it that, creative about that Only God Can? What does that mean? Yeah. And saying, well, let me tell you what it means. And just in a short conversation, so that people's frozen goods aren't thawing out in the cart in the supermarket, while they're waiting. And just a simple invitation, come join us. You're always welcome at Eastpointe.
Yeah, that's incredible. You're really making the vision stick there at Eastpointe in these ways. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We always coach elders to understand these are not just words on a wall, but vision, mission, core value statements are important for decision making. And how are you onboarding this in your decision-making process, what you are doing as a church family? Vision, mission drive you as a church?
Yeah. And that's a big thing. We just say, hey, like these are, we hosted a anti-sex trafficking conference at our church. It was a brand new thing that some people in the community wanted to do. We had some people in our church step it up, and they said, okay, like this is a big step of faith. We don't know if anybody's going to show up for this thing, and we hosted that this last weekend. We had several hundred people come through our doors as a part of the whole thing. But it was definitely like hey, this is an only God can moment. And so you'll hear that line as you're walking through on Sunday mornings, only God can, and people remind me of it all the time. I'll be saying something about, the budget and the difficulty of the budget. And people say, hey, only God can. And so it's one of those that says like the Christian life is about taking steps of faith. And in our core values, we actually, one of our core values that we chose 3 of them. And one of them is daring to act, because we really do believe that that's what only God can is all about. It's about daring to act in faith and recognizing that only God can do what he wants to do in our church. We have a role to come alongside, but at the end of the day, like we want to stand in awe of what God has done, not in what we have done. So,
yeah. For the sake of those listening, I want us to talk about your vision, mission, core values. You just brought up one of your core values. So Eastpointe has this single vision statement, only God can, and Dustin has certainly articulated that well for us. Then that vision, how are you going to pursue your why? You have 2 phrases. You want to share that with everybody, please?
Yeah, our 2 phrases we chose were compelled by compassion and called to unity. And this was a really interesting one. The compelled by compassion is obvious enough with we want to be people who, just as Jesus was moved to compassion, we have a lot of very compassionate people in our congregation. We want to be willing to make those same steps of faith. The call to unity actually was one because of the diversity that we have in our church. When we were meeting together with Gary, we had a very diverse group of people, and it was actually some of our people who are African American who said, we don't want the word diversity in here. We want the word unity. And, as we started talking through that, it became clear that this is what it's really all about. We don't want to just tout our diversity. When people show up on Sunday mornings, they're going to see our diversity. But what we want to say is it's just not diversity that we have, but we have something even more than that. We have unity in the midst of that diversity. And so we chose called to unity, because we really see ourselves as a church that needs to bring people together in the midst of all the culture wars that we have going on.
Yeah. So then finally, your core values, you have a single phrase for vision. You have 2 phrases for pursuing that vision, your mission statements. And now your core values, the environment that you're creating. You have three phrases. Can you tell us what those 3 are, please?
Yeah, the first one is devoted to truth. We recognize that we needed to grow in our biblical literacy a great deal. And so that's part of what we're doing this year. We're doing the story, which, has been done all over, but it's been a great response so far. That's our devoted to truth. The second one is daring to act, which we've already talked about there with, this is a church that we're going to take steps of faith. We're not going to take calculated risks only. Calculated risks in faith mean that we need to take in, how is God going to provide? How is this causing us to depend upon God? And then the last one is developing one another. We have been at the 400 barrier for 16 years since we moved out there. And we recognized that one of the biggest aspects of breaking that 400 barrier is to develop people in our congregation into leaders. And so that's one of the keys to breaking a barrier. And so we put it right there in our core values.
That's awesome. Well, we want to thank you not only for taking time out to be with us and tell your story today, but sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, we want to thank you for leading well. Eastpointe has so quickly become what we would call a model church. 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, Paul said this only about Thessalonica. He didn't say it about anybody else. He said, you have become a model to all of the believers throughout Macedonia and Achaia. And we want to thank you for your elder team, your staff team. You are leading well, and you're setting a model, a template, a pattern for other churches, not only in central Ohio, but far beyond, throughout the Midwest and beyond, to follow your example. And we're grateful for the partnership with Eastpointe.
Well, you guys have had a big part in it, and it's been great to have you guys come alongside and to help us through so many of the different processes. You guys have been helping us with our board governance transition as well. And so it's just, it's great to have the resource of E2 out there, Gary.
Well, thank you. And thanks for sharing our name with other people, because we're already partnering now with another church because of your encouragement and influence in that leader's life. So we're grateful. Well, Dustin, thank you. And if people wanted to get in touch with you, is there an e-address that they can use to connect with you?
Yeah. They can always go to eastpointechristian.com and they can connect with us through there. You can fill out one of the tabs on there just to get in touch, and I'd be more than happy to get back with you. So.
Okay, eastpointechristian.com. All right.
It's Eastpointe with an E, eastpointechristian.com.
Yeah, got it. All right, well, thanks, Bud, so very much. We appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Gary.